on our good friend Brent Beaird of College Sports Today and First Coast News. Brent, as we prepare to navigate this gauntlet of football games involving Southeastern Conference programs coming up here in the next 4 or 5 days, a virtual smorgasbord, Brent, of conference action, right?
Yeah, it's great. I'm going to see some of those here in Jacksonville, and then we'll be able to see some of those Saturday in Miami. So looking forward to that. Trav, with your and my affection for the wishbone, I'll be brief about this, but I've got to at least give a minute of love to Paul Johnson. Today is his last game at Georgia Tech. Now, Trav, probably not the guy we want to have lunch with, but I tell you, he deserves some credit for sticking with that triple option. They probably never won as many games as he wanted to. Kind of a typical year this year, around 7-5. But I appreciate what he did, what he assembled, and the career he had at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, we'll find out. Jeff Collins coming in there from Temple. He's going to update that offensive approach for the Yellow Jackets. We'll see. I think in a lot of corners, Paul Johnson has been viewed as mediocre to average as a coach. But look, You're in the same state right now with Kirby Smart. So right. if you want to try to systematically compare to Kirby, which means you're going to have to recruit the same kind of guys he's recruiting, good luck with that. But maybe it'll work for Jeff Collins. And people continue to take their shots at the triple option. Well, ask Air Raid Houston about the triple option. Yeah, after what happened to them at the hands of the Army cadets in the bowl game.
70 points on that dog, right?
The triple option offense is just outdated, can't score enough points, not explosive enough. Put 70 on Major Applewhite in the Houston Cougars. Now, and with that news right as well, Kendall Briles. Kendall coached that game like he was maybe 1 foot already in Tallahassee. Now Major Applewhite loses Kendall Briles to Willie Taggart. And I got to think down there where you're at, that's helped kind of calm things, steady things maybe with that FSU fan base, because between the season Willie Taggart had, 5-7, and then a recruiting class that didn't exactly live up to what the expectations were for Taggart as a recruiter, that was a hire FSU and Taggart desperately needed, I would think. Yeah, it was. Now, there's obviously some fallout from the Baylor situation, but again, I mean, that was his father. It wasn't necessarily him. He was there, but yes, they are hoping desperately to get someone in there to be able to just resurrect that offense. And Travis, their biggest problem, and this didn't get a whole lot of attention, but he's also bringing the Houston offensive line coach because, as you know, FSU's biggest problem, frankly, in offense is that abysmal offensive line. No doubt about that. And that's similar, in my opinion, to what Gus Malzahn is doing at Auburn, bringing in a young offensive mind from Memphis and a productive offense under Mike Norvell, when the coach off that Memphis staff that, in my opinion, Gus needs the most is Ryan Silverfield, the offensive line coach and run game coordinator. So absolutely, that's what I think Gus needed at Auburn. He needed, you can bring the young guy to work with the quarterbacks, but the money man, the money guy would have been if you could have pulled Silverfield to come with Dillingham to Auburn. It looks like Taggart's able to do that with those guys. And Trav, Gus is going to call the plays anyway. So the truth of the matter is that change going to make a whole lot of difference? No, I don't think it is. I mean, it's still going to be Gus's offense and Gus, just out in the open calling plays now. No disguise to it at all. Hey, Brent, reading your notes, Brent does a great job with his weekly and constantly updated notes package that he puts out there. I saw some interesting points about this quarterback matchup in the Orange Bowl between Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa based on college football playoff history, and it's a brief one. Man, we've had some really good quarterback matchups, though. Could this one surpass, say, Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson from a few years ago in this very same game?
Oh yeah, I think that may be very possible. And Trav, could part of that be that frankly both these quarterbacks are able to run as effectively as they can be? Now, obviously, Tua is going to be a bit maybe subdued with that because of his issues. But all in all, when we know what they can do with their arms, I think their legs may add something that Mayfield in that game maybe did not.
I think for Oklahoma, it's really going to be all of it on Kyler Murray. And when I say all of it, I'm not just talking about the passing game, and I'm not talking about a part of the run game. I think Kyler Murray is going to have to lead Oklahoma in rushing. And when I say that, I'm not talking about lead them with 35 yards while Kennedy Brooks and Trey Sermon are somewhere sub 30. You know, he's going to have to be at least what Kellen Mond was, right, for Texas A&M against this Alabama defense. Mond hit Alabama for a couple runs, 54 and 34 yards in those games. I think that's what Murray's going to have to give Oklahoma on Saturday night. Yeah,
I agree with that. I mean, Travis, for them to win, what would you say to put a number on it? I'm going to say he needs to be. Would it be fair to say he needs to be north of maybe 125, something like that?
You know, I don't know if it has to be that high, but if he's not north of, say, 75, 80, that probably means Alabama is forcing him to stay in the cup and throw the football more than would probably be suitable, and especially if Marquise Brown is limited. You know, if you're Alabama and Marquise Brown is either limited or can't go, first and foremost, you want to take away Murray's legs and make a guy who's 5'10", maybe, sit there in the pocket and try to make throws in the middle of the field, especially. So that's going to be and Tua this morning, Brent, tells reporters down in South Florida that ankle's 80 to 85%. Now, that's okay, but on the topic we're hitting on right now, quarterbacks and their legs in this game, that doesn't scream 10 carries for Tua, which leads me to think there's at least going to be a plan for Jalen Hurts, maybe on a situational basis. What do you think about that possibility?
Yeah, well, I think that's very much a possibility, and in Tua's situation may be to where it would be either a particularly designed run, or if he's got a situation where it breaks down and he's got 10 or 15 yards in front of him where he can go, frankly, and just slide or run out of bounds at that point. But yeah, I thought all along, Trav, that Hurts would play in this game, if nothing else, because to take the air out of it and change the style of play.
Yeah, I think that seems very possible at this point. Now, Oklahoma's pass defense is so bad, it may not matter. And it's a topic I threw out there in the first segment today. You know, a couple of different ways of looking at this for the Alabama offense. You come out, you're Mike Loxley, you know that you got layups available to you in the passing game against the worst pass defense in all of FBS with Oklahoma. At the same time, with an eye towards preserving your defense. You try to manage the game a little bit. Balance is obviously still going to be a part of things. I don't think Alabama is going to go up tempo the whole game. That's not what I'm talking about here. But I think if you got layups, you got to take the layups. And so it's going to be an interesting sort of option for Loxley. What do you think? I mean, do you expect Alabama, against everybody, though, not just this Oklahoma team, but really against everybody? Alabama's looked to come out fast and aggressive. I don't see that changing because of what Oklahoma puts on the field on the other side of the ball.
No, I agree. The thing they've got to stay out of, and I've learned this from you over the years, is that phrase, they can't chase points. In other words, one, they don't need is to kick off to Oklahoma. They score, get a 3 and out somehow, and Oklahoma scores again with a field goal or touchdown, and you're 10-0, 14-0 behind, and you've got to chase points for quite a while. So they've got to be on the opposite side of that, and if they can have a balance with running the clock, being able to control the ball. But yet, I agree with you. I think somehow, though, Loxley would be able to stay within who they are without giving that up. But your point's a good one about the defense. You've got to give your defense a break from time to time. But I do think this defense has a little more motivation than normal in this game, too.
You know, this matchup, when we talk about the Alabama offense against the Oklahoma defense, it reminds me of the 1990 NCAA tournament game between Alabama and Loyola Marymount. Yeah, of course, Bo Kimball with Marymount. Hank Gathers, tragically, had passed away earlier in the season. It was an inspired, motivated Paul Westhead in that, get a shot up every 10 seconds with Marymount. Alabama, under Wimp Sanderson, looked to slow that game down, did exactly that, but still lost the game that it wanted to play 62-60. And remembering that game, what I recall is there were situations where Alabama had transition opportunities, maybe layups, and kind of turned them down to stay within the style of play that Alabama, and Alabama was successful in that. Alabama got Marymount out of its comfort zone, but still lost the game. And if I'm Alabama and I've got and that Alabama team in 90, by the way, had 4 future NBA players on it.
Yeah,
okay.
Sure did.
It wasn't like they weren't talented and they couldn't play that style of play and still beat Marymount.
Marymount. Listen, great minds think alike. I've used that illustration lately because this reminded me a lot of that. And Trav, in that game, the thing I remember the most was they played that slowdown to perfection. The problem is, with about 3 or 4 minutes in the game, that they had about 3 or 4 transitional times in a row where they easily could have dunked the ball, that they held it out, ran clock off, where at that point they needed to racehorse it down, get points, and if they'd done that, it would have validated everything they did, and they could have won the game.
You know who didn't turn down layups? UNLV in the very next round. They scored 131 points.
That's right.
Larry Johnson, Stacey Augman, Jerry Tarkanian, they said, look, you want to give us layups? We'll take about 60 of them. And that's exactly what happened in the next round. UNLV beat Marymount 131-101. So if I'm Alabama in this game, I'm not getting beat because I'm worried too much about, we got to get them out of their side. Alabama can score 70 in this game, I think, if it really wants to. And if Oklahoma can score 71, good for them. Hey, let's quickly, before we let you go here, SEC team coming up, other than obviously Alabama, that needs a win the most in bowl play, in your opinion. One SEC team that you think needs a bowl win the most, would do the most for this team to get a win in a bowl game?
I think that would probably, I'm going to go either or Florida or A&M. I think A&M's got to win in order to continue to show the progress that Jimbo really wants to make. And on the other hand, Florida's just been buried by Michigan. They need to exercise that Wolverine demon. And if they could do that, they've got 10 wins. And I tell you, Trav, let's just say this. If both these teams win their bowl games, how big are expectations in 2019?
They're going to be very high, even though both are going to still be in divisions where there's absolute titans residing at the top of those divisions. But yeah, I agree. And really, when you look at it, Jim Harbaugh should thank his lucky stars for Florida right now. If it wasn't for Florida, the seat on Jim Harbaugh might be even warmer than it is. That's about as good as it's gotten for Jim Harbaugh at the University of Michigan right now. Thank goodness for Florida. TGIF, I guess, is what you could call it with the Gators when it comes to the Wolverines. Well, as always, Brent, we appreciate you joining us here on the program. Always a lot of good stuff. Look forward to keeping up with you on Twitter as well, at Brent Beaird, BrentBeaird. And, of course, at College Sports Today and First Coast News as well. Thanks a lot, Brent.
My pleasure, pal. Take care, okay?